It's great to be back after 3 months in lockdown. Welcome to the Gration Generation Games podcast, but also welcome back to the Premier League. I'm Harvey.
And I'm Harry, the voice of reason and experience.
So, the Premier League is back, finally. I can't wait. It kicks off all on Wednesday. First match, Aston Villa, Sheffield United. And then the evening, the more important game, 8:15, Manchester City versus Arsenal. What are your thoughts on the Premier League being back, first of all?
Well, I'm delighted it's back. I'm a bit surprised in some aspects because I felt that there might have been a case for it to have been delayed another couple of weeks or so, but it's back. Let's be honest, the reason it's back in this form is because money talks. So Sky want their value for money, the millions of pounds that they pay. Is it, £11 million a match? BT want their millions as well to be well and truly spent and to get more people watching. So the net result is that those who've got Sky, those who've got BT are in for a football bonanza over the next few weeks.
Well, this is the thing. There's virtually games every single day. The remaining games, whether it's 8 or 9, depending on the clubs, there's going to be 6 weekends of football with 3 midweek fixtures. So there's going to be a lot of football. And there's been a few rules that have been tweaked. So there's going to be five subs allowed, and possibly the bench may go from 7 to 9. That's to be decided. But there's definitely going to be 5 subs allowed. Some games are going to be at neutral venues, the ones that the police can't handle. Every player will be tested once or twice per week. And there's a few concerns about what will happen. Like, for example, in the Bundesliga, injuries have gone up by 250% in the Bundesliga. Mainly muscle injuries and stuff, but they have gone up quite a bit in the Bundesliga. And that comes from players not thinking 2 weeks for proper training is long enough. You see Raheem Sterling, Troy Deeney and more have come out and set their thoughts against that. And maybe for the teams that don't have the biggest squad size, so you see Sheffield United, Wolves and Leicester, they've only used 21 players this season. They haven't used anyone else, so are they going to be affected more, and will that affect things? Maybe. And can the surprise teams, like we said, can they carry on? It's been a break. The form previous to lockdown bears really little relation now. So can the surprise teams, like Sheffield, like Leicester, like Wolves, etc., etc., Sheffield especially, who've got 5 of the top 8 in the run-in, so can they carry on? And one last thing, the home advantage. That might have been lost now. You see Liverpool, 2 years, they haven't been beaten at Anfield. And in the Bundesliga, again, after the first 27 games, there was only 5 wins at home, or at home. So it's going to be different. It's going to be exciting all the same, and very strange. But in terms of the matches, let's get into them. We'll start off with Man City against Arsenal. Do you think Arsenal have a prayer in this one?
No chance at all. I think Manchester City are going to turn them over well and truly. I think Arsenal are a better side under Arteta. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They've certainly got players who can cause problems, but when we've seen Manchester City play Arsenal over the last 2 years, they've just been wiped out in midfield, never had a kick at goal, really.
This is the thing, we've always tried to set up in a more kind of pragmatic approach, and it's never seemed to work. Conceded 16 goals in the last 5 games against Man City. And what is to say that it won't be the same? However, I will put an argument up. I don't think we'll get turned over. I don't think there's the same. It's quite a. It's said a lot. There's not the same. Arsenal don't give in as much, but I generally don't think we do. I think Arteta's given a.
No, I agree with that.
There's a bigger willingness in the squad.
I agree with that.
It's because the players genuinely want to do well. If you had Emery going to set up, like you see, he had 7 defensive players last time he played Man City at the Etihad, and there was no real cohesion.
It was an embarrassment.
But with Arteta, he's a coach that knows his stuff. There's no doubt about that. And we see other teams like Man United, who aren't the greatest side, but they set up in a low block, and that works, and it can frustrate Man City. And Arteta's a brilliant coach, so I think he'll be able to do that.
Well, let's be honest, Harvey. If anybody knows how to beat Man City, it's Arteta. The question is, are the players up for it? Well, I certainly think Aubameyang is. I think he's got quite a lot still to prove that he can really do it against top-class opposition. I'm still out. The jury's out on Pepe for me. But we'll see. There were signs that he was coming back a little bit towards the end. And I'm more intrigued than anything about what the defensive formation will be, because now he's got his long-awaited fullback in action. We've waited so long to see him. Could that mean a more settled response to the defence and a more settled response for the next 5 matches?
It's difficult to predict anything really, but I'm not going to make a case. I don't think we'll go and beat Man City. You know, I recognise that it's tremendously difficult, but I do genuinely think we can get a point from it. Who did you speak to that's talking about the vibe in the squad?
Yes, there is a colleague of mine, an ex-colleague of mine who works at the Emirates now. He says there's a real buzz about it, and one of the things that he's noticed more than anything is see the way that Mustafi has responded to Arteta.
Well,
and we have to be honest, he's played well.
People are genuinely forgetting how well we were playing before the lockdown. We had 16 points in 2020, unbeaten in the league. In terms of our points tally, we were only second to Liverpool, obviously. And like you said about Mustafi, I'm going to get on into my team that I would play against Man City. Will Mustafi play? I'm not too sure. Obviously, Leno, he's the first choice goalkeeper. Of course, he'll be in goal. We've got the 2 first choice fullbacks. Hector Bellerin will start, you would have thought. And Tierney, finally, he's back.
Hooray.
He's had 3 injuries, including one before he even got to Arsenal. He had a hernia operation. This will be his first, or maybe it will be his first game back since his dislocated shoulder against West Ham. We won 3-1 away back in the winter. And the centre-back partnerships is quite a confusing one, actually. I think Luiz has become a mainstay. I think he will 100% play.
And they need to get him to sign a new contract.
And maybe people haven't seen this, but Luiz has been a terrific player. And again, the guy Dan, the guy you said, he talked about how everyone looks up to him, respects him in the squad. And under a bit of guidance from finally a coach who knows a little bit about the game, you can see some of the players flourishing. And you can see now how good a player and how good a signing Luiz really could have been if we'd been playing like that all season under Arteta. But he will be one of the centre-backs. The other one, it's a bit of a difficult one. Are we waiting for Mustafi's next calamitous mistake, or has he genuinely turned a corner? I think he has.
We don't know that.
He has turned a corner, but what I would say is, would you trust him in a game against Man City, where there has been 3 months of lockdown? Would you trust him yet? He's gaining trust, but do you trust him enough to put him in?
Yeah, I think I would start with him, actually. I think I would, because I think he's shown that reaction. It all goes back to me to that calamitous mistake he made against Chelsea, and he made up for it very, very significantly with a powerful display after that. And since then, I think he's shown a great deal of character, determination, and I have to say a lot of respect as well. And Arteta will have noticed that, because he would have taken him to one side and said, the only way that you can stay in my football team is if you are consistent. And that does not mean you can allow one calamitous mistake every single match. You can't do it.
And this is the thing. The inside information that you got was that in the training session in Dubai, the training camp in Dubai, they sat together and just talked for 20 minutes straight. And this led the person to say that the centre-backs that will be offloaded are Socrates and Holding.
Yeah, I don't think he's got any inside information other than an Arsenal fan's perspective, really. But I think Socrates and Holding would be the ones that I would offload anyway.
This is an interesting one.
It's not surprising.
In terms of this, I wouldn't play Mustafi for the reasons I've said. And then I wouldn't play Mari because I think, although he's good on the ball, we already have Luiz, and against Man City, you don't really need someone as good on the ball. And I think his lack of pace will get exposed against Man City. So I would actually go for Socrates. I would go for Socrates. He's out of favour at the moment, but I think this is his type of game. Moving on into the midfield,
where I think Arsenal have got the problems.
Yeah, it's very frustrating that we don't have Torreira, because the Xhaka Torreira pivot would be perfect for this game. That game is written all over that. So do you go with a 3 in midfield? Because Man City like to play out the wings and use the half spaces with their number 8s, De Bruyne, Gundogan, David Silva, So you could go three in the middle: Guendouzi, Ceballos, and Xhaka. Xhaka will play. He's a favourite. And this is really a game to impose himself on, be disciplined in his positioning, and impress. But I probably think Arteta will keep with the two pivot in midfield. Don't go to a three. Do you go with Guendouzi or Ceballos? Ceballos has showed his tigerish side. He's developed into a number 8, not a number 10.
He has, but I mean, the problem with Guendouzi is he's just not consistent.
Well, Guendouzi has to learn positionally, and against Man City, you could get to the point where he has all the attributes to do well, but he just gets run absolute riot. And when Guendouzi is running around kind of like a bit of a headless chicken, Xhaka gets isolated, and that's when Xhaka has someone next to him. If Xhaka and Guendouzi, like we had at Newcastle on the start of the season, Guendouzi playing well, that's when Xhaka can really flourish. So I think it'll be Xhaka and Ceballos. And do you play Ozil? That's another question. Arteta, again, likes him. He has changed his work rate, Ozil, but he still has the same defensive deficiencies. So do you go with Willock, who is impressing in the friendlies? He scored 2 goals, more combative, and could drop into a 3 midfield. And then up front, I think, obviously, Aubameyang on the left. And I'm going to put him on the left, not through the middle, because I seriously do think we have to play Lacazette if we want a chance in this game. He is the only one of our forwards that can give an actual focal point. Nketiah can't do that yet. Neither can Gabby. And then Pepe out on the right-hand side, because he's showing glimpses, finally, that he can live up to the £72 million price tag. And he was playing really well before lockdown.
He was, but
so that's my team.
But Lacazette to me is an enigma really, because everybody's willing him to score all these goals. We saw him score one at the Emirates, didn't we, just before lockdown? But I mean, at the end of it all, he has had a terrible season. Yes, he's been injured. Mm-hmm. He's had some bad luck, but he's looked hopeless at times.
I'm not justifying him in terms of form in the team. But also, obviously, everyone has a fresh start. But in a big away game against Man City, I don't think anyone else can give us a focal point, apart from maybe Aubameyang. So anyway, that's my team. In terms of the bigger picture in the Premier League, there's the race for the Golden Boot. Jamie Vardy's on 19, Aubameyang just 2 behind him. You've probably got to back Aubameyang, to be honest. We've got a period of 4 games where there's tough fixtures, but apart from that, the games are winnable. And then there's also Aguero and Salah on 16. Rashford maybe an outside chance on 14. Mane's got 14. Danny Ings has also got 15, so that'll be interesting. And at the same time, you have Kevin De Bruyne going for Henry's 20 assists, the record. You have Ozil, who should have got it in 2015-16 when Giroud went on the barren game of 14 games without a single goal, and that kind of murked Ozil out of that. But De Bruyne's on 16 at the moment. He looks destined to go on for that.
I think De Bruyne is to me one of the greatest players in the world. I really like to watch him play when he's buzzing. Manchester City buzz, but they've got so many other players, of course, who can turn it on as well. But I think you're right in one sense. I think it's a real opportunity for Aubameyang to really sort of impress himself as a world-class striker now. There are many who might say, yes, he is.
Oh, he's a world-class striker. He's shown it.
All right, okay. I will reluctantly concede that he's nearly a world-class striker. Don't think he's quite there yet. But if he gets a couple against Manchester City in the first match, I will say he's a world-class striker.
Well, I just see the dependency Arsenal have shown on him and the way he's come through as a professional as well. And if he was playing in a better side, if he was playing in a Man City or Liverpool, there's no doubt he'd be the top goal scorer. This guy is world class. He's in the 10 years of his career, he's scored over 20 goals almost every single season. This guy's the real deal, and we're going to need him against Man City. Hasn't scored against Man City yet, so we'll see what he can do. Moving on to the other teams, the race for the top 4. Obviously, the title's wrapped up. We know this. Liverpool could win it at Goodison Park actually if Arsenal win, but the title is wrapped up. Liverpool will win the league. And it's an inevitability. So the race for the top 4 is the big deal. Will Chelsea continue their sort of slumber in 2020? And will anyone else capitalise? You see, obviously form isn't it's out the window now. The previous form in 2020 before lockdown.
And where does the Champions League enter all this? Because some of those clubs obviously still hoping that...
Same with the Europa League.
Is that going to start
I think
again,
when the Ligue 1 starts 22nd of August, I think they're probably going to... They'll try and finish it, and I think they genuinely might have to do like a round robin or something like that. And if that isn't viable, then I don't see how it can be played. There just won't be any winners, and it'll be unfortunate for that. But
unless, of course, they decide to play the matches just as a one-off rather than two legs, they could do that.
Yep.
And you could have a toss of a coin for who gets home advantage. That might not be regarded as fair, but this season hasn't been fair in any shape or form. And the matches have to be played. Maybe that's the answer.
I think they will get it done, but whether that's in like a smaller sort of format, tournament form, they could put everyone in groups again and play out from there. We'll see. Keeping with the Champions League, obviously Chelsea are currently 4th. There might be a 5th spot depending on the Man City Champions League ban. I think Mubarak and the owners at Man City are slightly more positive now. They always have said that they will get it overturned, but they're definitely more positive now. I'm not really sure. Nobody really knows what is really going on, so we'll see. And if 5th place is up for grabs, there's Wolves and Sheffield who have the outside chances. Arsenal have an outside chance. Spurs have an outside chance. The pole runners, the front runners, are Manchester United at the minute. But I will stress this: what Manchester United will we see post lockdown? They've had ups and downs and ups and downs. Everyone's raving about the potential Pogba and Fernandes partnership, which is tantalising, the deal of it. But where is Pogba's head at? Nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Well, certainly Fernandes has been a great buy,
and he's completely transformed them. And in a way, it's fair play to Solskjaer because everyone's criticised him, but he's carried on going, and he's been a little bit insistent, but he's kind of found a method that sort of works, and the victory against Man City epitomised that. And I think the players at Manchester United, they do genuinely want to do well. I think at times, although they have good fixtures running up, and they're willing, at times they lack the quality of their rivals, and they can be a bit hit or miss, and they sometimes lack direction in the game management in games. So that they're not the real deal, but they're going to try and spend big again.
You touch on a very interesting point there, though. You said they're going to spend big. I'm sure clubs will spend big. I think it's going to be a different kind of big from here on in.
I think whatever, though, and when I should have specified, I think whatever, United will be at the top of the near the top. Sorry, you have the top 6 teams, but United more towards the top of them, and they at the spending piles. How they don't have a sustainable system. We've touched on this with Ollie. Again, we don't know how they're going to come back. They don't have a sustainable system. They don't have a sustainable hierarchy. And I think there's going to be a lot more going on behind the scenes for them to actually get Champions League. And maybe the Rashford boost will be a boost coming back for them. He is a point to prove. He had 14 goals up until the lockdown. Can he actually carry that on and finally get a season with that 20-plus goal marker?
It's certainly fascinating, is that. So is the relegation battle, although I think in a sense it's probably just about over. But you have a look at that game between Sheffield United and Aston Villa. That's a massive match for Villa. I mean, I know it's a big one for Sheffield United, but for Villa...
And I told you, current form does not matter, but Villa were in shambolic form before the break.
They were.
And they lost their last 4 games. I think even Daniel Farke has admitted that it'd be a miracle if Norwich stayed up. I think, although they're only 5 points, they're only 6 points from 17th place, which is Watford. I think because there's so many teams in the scrap, it be completely out of the world for them to stay up. And it really, if they're going to have a chance, it depends on Pukki's form, it depends on Buendia's form, and that's what Norwich need. But I think I hate to say it, I think they're a pretty done deal, as most people are thinking of going down. Villa are 19th. However, let's say they won. Let's say they won the Sheffield game, and all of a sudden they'd be 17th. They'd be out the relegation zone. So this is how close it is.
I wonder how many people now are just going to watch wall-to-wall football on Sky, BT, and even the BBC from now, because there's so many matches on
And
it's going to be non-stop, isn't it?
It's not like the 3 o'clockers traditionally on a Saturday where there's 5 or 6 matches going on and you can flick between. You have one match on, you watch all of it, and then straight after you have another one, and then you have another one, and another one, and it carries on like that. So it's going to be great for the watchers. Maybe not if you're a Villa fan or a Watford fan, a Brighton, Bournemouth, Norwich fan. You see Villa, they have such a talented squad, but do they have enough firepower? Samatta, Wesley's certainly hit and miss. Samatta, we don't know about yet, and they probably don't have enough spine. So Grealish and McGinn, who is back, are going to play a huge role in their relegation battle. They also have Chelsea, Liverpool and United, Aston Villa, and on the final day they have West Ham. That could be a potentially huge game. Talking about West Ham, David Moyes' appointment was questionable, and it started with a thumping of Bournemouth, but now I think everyone's sort of questioning why on earth did Karen Brady, etc., actually go with David Moyes? What could you possibly see in David Moyes? He had his heyday at Everton, where he built up a trusting squad with players that knew, but now I think he's completely out of his depth. He couldn't even do it with Real Sociedad.
He obviously didn't do it at Man United, although many people would turn around and say that he never really got a proper chance to do it at Man U, and I think there's some justification in that. As far as Real Sociedad is concerned, well, it's very difficult for someone who's English to go over and talk the lingo over there that they understand. It's a different style of football as well. So I think that's not really fair on him. It is a big one. It is a big call, is this, for West Ham. If he does manage to keep them up, which I think he will, then he can look forward to be given half a season, I reckon.
It's the same with Steve Bruce. Again, the owner talk at Newcastle has quietened down. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster for Newcastle fans who just want Mike Ashley out of the club. And if there is a new owner, Bruce has said his future is up in the air as well. So yeah, it will be quite weird to see where they would actually go. Where they would go for that. Other rivals for them, Watford. Watford's revival under Nigel Pearson, that was incredible, has slumped off despite beating Liverpool. It has slumped off, and along with them you have Brighton, who looked out of sight. They were 11th in the table at the turn of the year. They're starting to tick with Graham Potter, and they've just come downhill from them. They haven't got a single win in 2020 in the league. And I like Potter. I like what he's trying to do. He did well with Swansea, and he's trying to make the step up into the Premier League. But this is defining for him. If he's able to keep them up and have a bit more time with the players, that'll be a lot better. But they're in trouble, as are Bournemouth. Never a European challenger, but they've always been comfortably 13th in the league.
With a good manager. I've got a lot of time for him.
But they just look now having that small club mentality. They look rattled. And this break, like many other teams, this break came in the right place for them. And their first game back is Crystal Palace. That's a big game as well. So the relegation battle is heating up. Norwich may be down, but there's definitely a lot to play for.
Okay, that's the Premier League for you, but let's have a talk about cricket. We both love this game, and how frustrating is this going to be with the County Championship effectively not going to take place, the 100, of course, not taking place at all until next year. I think the best that we can hope for cricket is a big 2020 bash, maybe. We could also look forward to a decent test series, although behind closed doors, I don't quite know how that's going to work. I'm a bit disappointed personally because I've got tickets to watch England against West Indies and also the one-dayer England-Australia later on, but there'll be no crowds there, and that will be so frustrating.
Pakistan and West Indies are touring this summer.
I don't think the West Indies are going to be very strong. No. They've got that very interesting spin bowler who looks about 28 stone. He's a character and a half. But it'd be nice to see how he gets on at...
Yeah, and you were saying an interesting thing about what the 100. I was really looking forward to that, as a lot of people were, because cricket, as you were saying a couple of days ago, it was on the way up after the World Cup, And with the 100 not happening and with this lockdown, it just could be the worst possible thing for it.
This to me is a crisis in the making for cricket, because there were so many young kids, young boys and girls, who were starting to play cricket after that incredible victory last year against New Zealand at Lords. There was a real buzz about every single aspect of cricket. The momentum has gone. There'll be no cricket this summer. You won't be playing any cricket at all probably this summer. Whether you want to play for school or whether you want to play for your club side, there might be a few club games maybe back end of August, early September. But the reality is there'll be no league cricket of any form.
Nothing.
And that's going to have a knock-on effect for clubs. They're going to be starved of finance because they need people coming through, paying the subs and then going for a drink in the bar, etc., etc. It's not just football that's going to struggle in terms of the financial implications of the coronavirus. Cricket will suffer very, very badly indeed. And I just hope that we get some wonderful summer starting in September, and we might just get some kind of 4-week tournament where we can play a bit of competitive cricket, proper cricket, 11-a-side cricket.
But that's the thing. The weather is the dependent variable.
Yeah.
If that's bad, then it's game over really in terms of this season. We're gonna have to wait again. So the lockdown has hit everything hard, not just the Premier League, not just cricket. Everyone continue to stay safe, and thank you very much for listening.
And enjoy your sport, because we'll be watching a lot of football over the next few weeks. I can tell you that.
Thank you.